We see a lawsuit coming.
Moving on with the new business, we have petition number 2014-05, and this is the initial review of petition alleging that county officers or employees are in violation of section 2-91.3 of the Code of Ethics by inter alia creating, expanding, and propagating PONC, and made several personal suggestions, each for PONC purchases. As we continue discussing this particular issue, there is a question on whether or not the board has jurisdiction over these individuals and over the issue raised. PONC is, for those that did not know, I was unaware until recently, stands for the county's Public Access, Open Space, and Natural Resource Committee. I'm going to ask our counsel of any thought she has on us continuing or not continuing with this case, and then I'd like to have a little discussion here amongst the board.
Mr. Chair, I think the petitioners here, I'm not
Yes.
sure if the respondents are here at all. I did not speak with, I'm sorry, I did speak with Ms. Hecht, and she said she was unable to attend, as well as Ms. Byrne Baber. She was also not able to attend. I believe you have in your packets, though, their responses. So,
In that regards, we will continue.
well, their responses are to the petition.
Okay.
There are allegations in which the board may want to ask the petitioner as to whether or not these allegations arise in 2006 or not. I don't know. It seems like it, but since the petitioner is here, you may want to inquire. And if so, the board does have a statute of limitations of 6 years. So with that, I'll leave it to the board.
We'll continue.
Yes.
The petitioner, Mark McNett, is that correct?
Yes, that's my name. No middle name, no confirmation name.
Okay. Please come forward.
All right.
You have a petition here. Please, you have the floor for a few minutes to discuss your petition.
Okay. It'll only take a few minutes. There's plenty of evidence already presented to you, and plenty more yet to be presented, but not necessarily today. I just would like to go on the record on two things. First of all, and anyone that might be concerned, you know, the county will still be able to acquire any and all the lands it so desires. And I'm sorry I just picked this out of the files this morning. Ordinance number 0585, Bill 78, Draft 3, Public Access, Open Space, and Natural Resource Preservation Fund. And that's all this PONC Commission is, was just an expansion by a factor of quite a few of this original law. And I'm told by a former councilman and future councilman that the signer of this law, the former mayor, he would like to have this whole PONC thing repealed. I believe that's beyond the purview of your Kuleana, maybe not. Now this item, these 4 pages of state records that I submitted 10 to 20 hours ago. And I had just got it in that very hour that I've been trying to get for 8 years, ever since these ads that are part of the petition for the first respondent. That's how. So, as far as I can tell, and one gathers, the state Hawaii revised statutes and administrative rules are all of a sudden unproblematic as of 20 hours or less ago. But still again, now there's a bright side, for me, not for the respondents, and for the county. I mean, it's a plus to the county that this information has finally been revealed after 8 to 7 years. And it shows the amount of money that was spent or in-kind donations to get a bare 6% majority to create this thing. And every time I've read the county lobbyist law, it's like $275 in a 6-month period, and this is a grand total of $30,392.91 in a 6-month period. And I'm pretty sure they're not on the lobbyist logs. Now, the TPL, Trust for Public Land, did have at least one, possibly 2 lobbyists registered, and on the expense reports, 0. Now, when I talked to Ms. Heck on the phone, I asked her about these ads, and she said, well, TPL paid for them. And as I understand it now from these records, and from talking to TPL several years ago, that the conservation campaign, and also from checking their website, that's a 501c4, which they are allowed to do this. But yet, if it's so legal, why not report it to the county? So anyway, you have that information. I feel that's really enough to schedule a formal hearing. That's up to you to make it formal or informal. And as far as I'm concerned, this thing should go straight to the prosecutors. But we may need to work through this protocols and procedures. Now, this is just something that I presented all this stuff to county council over the years, and now I'm sorry I just pulled this out of the file this morning, and I did not have time to make copies for you, but it's October 10, 2006, HTH article on lobbyists by Jason Armstrong, and according to the county clerk at the time, I believe it was Connie Curiou, rather, a lobbyist who doesn't register or meet all the requirements shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, end quote. Quote, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, the law states. Well, I did the math on that one figure. It was the lower figure. It was like 24,000, a little bit more. I didn't do it on the 30-some thousand, but the lower figure came out to be like 89 times the limit. So I just don't see how they can get a free pass on that. Now, as to the second respondent, Ms. Bernbaber, now this I didn't give you because I didn't notice this until just the other night when I was reviewing the thing. This page 6 of 6 on these suggestions for the properties that have already been purchased. Right between Pohoiki Bay and the Kahuku coastal property, Ka'u, there's Kaiolena South, North Kohala, and then the TMK numbers, the 76.65 acres. It says in red, parentheses, see list under Kaiolena North. So in other words, instead of just duplicating the page or pages of suggesters that were for Kylan and North, and it was the same exact suggesters for Pa'o'o purchase. So if you look at that, and I will, I'll even go to the extra expense to make a color copy so you can see this is the information I was given. And if it's available on the internet, that's usually, say it's blue, you can click on it to a link, or if it's red, something similar, I guess. Any kid would know. I don't. But I guess that was to like save a page or two of paper. But to me, when you're spending these millions and millions on each of 3 different properties, I think the names of the people that suggested it and supposedly were able to persuade the commission to buy this for the county, that those names should be listed. But if it were like 3 lists, all identical, many suggesters, and they're all entered on the same date, if you notice. So it looks like, I believe it was Ms. Byrne at the time, before she was a commissioner, gathered the suggestions, and you know, that all may be very legal and innocent, but you know, I'm not an organization man. I'm a sole operator, but I have in television production become involved with groups that might have dozens or scores of people. And to get 100% compliance is virtually unheard of, because I would always get talent releases for every person appearing on the screen. But, I mean, they're claiming that they had these many suggesters, and you can see a lot of these suggesters. I mean, okay, there's a minority that were listed with DCCA, Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs Business Registration. There was a very minority. And I just started doing internet searches and so forth on the others, and I immediately saw that, yes, some of these dupes do exist, even though they're not registered with the state. I haven't found any in the county lobbyist logs, and I found typically on these groups in Hawaii, a lot of them be 501c3 so they can offer a tax deduction. And some of them just lie about it and say they're a 501c3 and figure they'll never get caught. I don't know how. But anyway, to me, there's a preponderance of the evidence that this is something that needs attention. It needs to be looked into. As far as your synopsis, just in closing on the agenda. Now, I don't have the multi-page letter I wrote in the petition, or a copy of the petition with me, but I never used the term inter alia, and I'm dying to know exactly what that means. I hope that'll be explained when I get off this mic in a moment. So anyway, like I said, I feel that there's plenty to call for a formal hearing on this, and under the contested case rules. So I probably forgot quite a few things, but I'm pretty sure we'll have a chance to revisit this. At least I hope. I hope it won't be one of these quick dismissals, because this isn't a matter of someone throwing a ballpoint pen on a floor, or, you know, some administration aide supposedly misleading a member of the public. This is a $30+ million program, and it averages out to about $5 million a year out of the county budget spent. Plus, the real, and just in closing, the real bad part of this is the state money and the federal money grants, which is actually most of that 30,000, I believe. If this turns out that those suggestions were falsified, and Ms. Heck's ongoing in several election cycles, she had these that you can download off of her website. And she uses the same website for her campaigns for county council. And to me, that's a consideration, and that's what the county lobbyist law says, for or other consideration. Well, when she got nominated to this commission, she was waived through finance committee by Brenda Ford, her friend, according to Brenda Ford, a former employer, and under the county. And she's continued, and if that's all the reporting she did was to the state this one time, that's like, what, 8 years of unregistered lobbying, and she just refuses to. I mean, Donald Decatur asked her when she was at a county council meeting, what about your lobbying? And she just smiles and says, I'm not a lobbyist. Well, hey, I can say I'm not a man, I'm not a human being, but, you know, I am, so. Anyway, you've been very patient. I've just kind of been expecting a little, could you, you know. So.
Before you leave, does anyone here have any questions for Mr. McNett?
Mr. McNett, if I might, I just want to clarify a couple things that are in your petition. There's two individuals that you're speaking about, Ms. Heck and Ms. Byrne-Baber, correct? Is that right? And then the second is the date, the timeline of the situation that you're referring to in the petition is the 2006 election. Is that correct?
Well, that's when it started, okay? Because without this $30-some thousand, I don't believe they ever would have got the 50% of the vote. But, you know, hey, only God knows that, all right? But as I said in my last minute of testimony, sir, she has continued with this, unreporting, for all of these years and years and years and years. And she just refuses to. And I think it's clear that she has done it for considerations and considerable considerations. And, you know, this thing has the potential to become like Arkansas Clinton Whitewater scandal if, say, other more serious transgressions were committed. So, as far as the first respondent, you said, yeah, it's for the whole 8 years. And maybe I didn't quote every chapter or verse of the county code that's been broken, but I mean, it's hard to tell from that newspaper article, but just not registering is a misdemeanor, and then all these other things. And if it turns out those suggestions are falsified, which I believe they are, it's clear just from reading it, I don't know if that would be a felony, a misdemeanor, or a summary offense with only a citation. So I hope I answered your question, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. McNett from anyone here? Thank you very much. At this point in time, I'll ask if there's any discussion here at the board on this petition.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I think that we have two individuals, Ms. Hecht and Ms. Byrne-Baber. Ms. Byrne-Baber's no longer as I understand it, no longer a county official, and therefore does not fall underneath the jurisdiction of this board. So if you're looking for motions, I would move that we would remove Ms. Byrne-Baber from consideration in this petition.
There has been a move and it's been seconded to remove Ms. Baber from this petition because she's no longer employed with the county as an official. Is there any discussion on this?
I just have a question, if there is any kind of policy in place that, past violations, if there was a violation, that they automatically are not considered when the person is no longer an employee. I don't know the code of ethics.
Counsel?
Sorry.
That's correct. There is a state law which provides that if an officer or employee is no longer employed, then the Ethics Commission has no jurisdiction or authority to prosecute, charge, and proceed with the case.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, does someone have another avenue through the legal system?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Okay.
certainly you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis to see whether or not there are other remedies.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I just may quickly say, I'm aware of plenty of other avenues.
Okay.
So thank you for your concern.
Well, there's been a move and seconded to remove Ms. Baber, did I pronounce that correctly? From the petition. There's been discussion, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote for the motion to remove Ms. Baber from the petition. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Hearing no opposed, the motion is passed. The question I have for discussion here is regarding Ms. Heck. Does anybody have any questions here on how you would like to proceed?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there's an element in our Article 15, Section 286B. 286B refers to alleged conduct of someone other than the inquirer. Under the informal advisory opinions. And about three lines down in there, it refers to the petition shall be filed within 6 years of the alleged violation. That was the purpose, addressing this particular point was my purpose for asking Mr. McNett about the situation, the violation that he was referring to in his petition and the date, the timeline associated with that. And although Mr. McNett identified that this is, in his view, something that's an ongoing situation, the petition does not refer to that. The petition refers to a timeline associated with the 2006 election, which is 7 to 8 years.
Yes.
Which would be outside the statute of limitations here. And having heard nor seen that there was any indication, because you can go down further, nothing here and shall bar proceedings against a person who by fraud or other device prevents the discovery of a violation of the Code of Ethics. I haven't heard or seen anything that's been presented to us that indicated that discovery of that violation or alleged violation has, that there was anything that prevented that discovery. As a result, I think then we're back to the statute of limitations on this particular matter being 6 years. And so it would appear to me that this petition is down wanting in terms of being presented within the statute of limitations timeline.
Thank you. Are there any further comments about this? Do you have a motion?
I move that we dismiss the petition for not being filed timely.
There has been a motion, and it's been seconded to dismiss the petition because it is outside of because it's not filed timely within the 6-year period, our statute of limitations. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Go ahead.
I just wanted a point of clarification because I don't understand inter alia either. If we could please get a little bit.
I'm sorry for using, what it means is among other things. So just for the board's information, when we receive petitions, we try to articulate as best as possible what the petition is alleging and the code violations stated. There were many allegations, and so I styled the agenda as meaning there were other things alleged in the petition other than creating, expanding, and propagating PONC.
Is there any further discussion or questions for clarification? Hearing no further discussion, we'll call for a vote. There is a motion on the floor to dismiss petition number 201405 because it was not filed in a timely manner within our statute of limitations. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? There are no opposed. The motion has been passed. We want to thank the petitioner for bringing this matter up. The third item on